Okay, everyone, different setup today. We had some technical issues. So I am in our company account. There's no Julian in the account today because I need to be on the company account. Otherwise, we are not going to make this work. That's also why we are a few minutes late. Sorry about that. So yeah, at the same time, drop in. I hope everything is working and is yeah, running smoothly for you. And yeah, last week we didn't do um, our Twitter space because there was Chinese New Year. A lot of the team had a bit of a lighter week. Yeah, and so we skipped the last week, and yeah, it seems yeah, after I think what 2.5 months of doing these Twitter spaces, my cautious approach to the crypto prices is not correct, and Permabull Fabio is actually spot on correct. Bitcoin had an, to me at least, unexpected bullish turnaround by, well, from the bottom, 33,000. Yeah, I would say 30% up. So we're gonna definitely cover that part. That's gonna be an exciting part. We talk a bit about the background. Why could this be? What are various possibilities? Obviously, for those of you that are in other coins, Ethereum kind of really had a nice pump as well. DeFiChain, my goodness, yeah, hard fork yesterday, really smoothly. I think 12 million DFI got burned since then. Price has been insanely strong. I think we're getting close to 50% pump now from the very bottom. I think like 2.5 weeks ago or something. So yeah, very nice for all of you that are in there. So we're gonna cover those things. Obviously, we're gonna cover the DeFiChain voting on Cake DeFi. We are gonna do a bit of a review 2021, preview 2022. Our road becoming a unicorn over the last 12 months. We had a blog post put out yesterday on that. And yeah, I think these are the larger topics. And obviously, I'm going to look into the questions and see if we address anything there. I would love to start maybe today. We are not going to start with the general market. We're going to do this a bit later. Let me quickly do a review 2021, preview 2022, what to expect a bit, to give you kind of a bit of an overview in all this. And then we're going to go into the price action, going to cover what's happening, a bit on those kind of fronts. So last year, what a year. We had tremendous growth when it comes to our customer base, our fund base. Obviously, 2021 was a relatively strong crypto year with relatively strong, I mean, Bitcoin at the end was about a 70% kind of increase. Not like in 2020 when it was like, I don't know, 4x or something. So but in generally a relatively strong year. It finished relatively weak with this hawkish Fed. We discussed this a couple of times now here on the space. But as a whole, I would have never expected at the beginning of the year how well the year is going to turn out and how strong we're going to finish. Q4, even though I think the first half of Q4, October, November, was a very strong crypto year. We had a new Bitcoin all-time high, 69,000. The second half was extremely weak on the other hand, and we finished the quarter pretty much where it started. But still, we had very strong user growth, very strong fund growth. I think in total last year, we paid about $250 million in rewards to all of you. So well, I want to say on the one hand, congratulations, but on the other hand, also thank you. And thanks for the support and the trust and all of that. And obviously, we are in the exact same boat as you. Of course, for those of you that are relatively savvy at math, you kind of understand our margins and you understand how we are doing with all that. The reason I also want to explain that, why I don't want to go into the financial details yet is we are in the process of completing our PCAOB audit. I'm fairly certain we should be able to do it now in Q1. And in that audit, there's a lot of discussions on how to treat customer assets from an accounting basis and how to treat company assets in a customer basis, in an accounting basis. For those of you that are following MicroStrategy, they had this entire discussion in Q4 where they had to take this massive impairment, and that looks really horrible in their P&L and balance sheet. Also, for those of you that are following the Tesla news, there was an update that Tesla's mark-to-market crypto holdings now is $2 billion, but they also had an impairment loss actually of $100 million last quarter. So these are all accounting challenges and accounting reasons. And so it's a bit tricky for me to communicate certain numbers just because I need to wait what the audit actually says, what are the numbers that the way I need to communicate them. And so, but for all of those of you that have some basic math skills, you can calculate certain revenue numbers, and you can for sure calculate all kinds of assets, because we're super transparent about this. I mean, you can see this on our website. And yeah, so it was a fantastic year. It was a really, really strong finish. The team then had get together at the beginning of the year. That was in Europe. About half of the team kind of joined, and that was really, really nice, getting a lot of people together and seeing how this the dynamics in this. So that was really, really good. This week, yesterday, actually, we got into our new office here in Singapore. About half of the team is based here locally, and the other half is really, really remote. It's kind of spread all over Asia, Europe, Africa. We don't have America time zone. That's simply because of the time difference is quite would be quite crazy, and already working such long hours. For example, when we talk to auditors, we've also had actually some investor calls with some very, very reputable investors, and many of them, you have a 12-hour, sometimes a 9 or 15-hour, whatever kind of way you calculate time difference, just bonkers sometimes. So I don't want to have that with a team member right now, but maybe in the future we're going to add that. So yeah, on the one hand, you can read the details. There's a bit of a summary on our major goals. Then a bit of a preview of the next 3 months, 12 months, and then like 60 to 120 months. So for the entire decade, what are the goals there? And then you can also see a very deep analysis on the various departments. So I go into legal, I go into finance, marketing, product, HR, all the various kind of topics, operations, customer support. You can read this all if you're interested in that. And yeah, so I don't want to bore you now with all those details. You can read those. I think a bit more interesting probably for you is a bit of a preview. I kind of lay this out as well. Q1, the upcoming quarter, I think we mentioned this a couple of times. Main focus is really finishing, integrating decentralized loans on our platform so that you can take a loan against your crypto. This is something that obviously can be very powerful because it allows you to go into the same boat as most other wealthy investors who take a loan against their holdings and then obviously don't need to sell. So they have a very strong kind of possibility there. And that's going to be a main focus point here. And then Q2, the focus then is really to open up into the various DeFi platforms. Obviously looking into the Ethereum, Binance, Solana, and kind of working the way down on the one hand for cash flow from DeFi, at the same time looking into the various staking platforms, various lending possibilities that are out there. And for those of you now, I want to take that fear away. There's some people who may be worried that we're not focusing enough on DeFiChain. First of all, I really want to highlight here that Cake DeFi and DeFiChain are two completely separate and independent projects. And I actually think us, especially in Q2, working on other projects and actually contributing also code there and contributing support there is not going to take anything away from DeFiChain. Actually, the exact opposite. I think there will be great synergies. There will be obviously a lot of customers who maybe have not heard about DeFiChain before, and us seeing that we've onboarded the Solana ecosystem or onboarded the Binance Smart Chain ecosystem, that they suddenly then see, hey, wow, cool, there's this other blockchain. Let me check this out as well. So that's going to be a focus from Q2 onwards. Yeah, and then the goal really for the rest of the year is to onboard various services, various products. Comes to DeFi, NFTs, metaverse, all these kind of various ideas. Provide our customer easy access to those products. As we always want it not to be an exchange, but be a blockchain agnostic platform. with this easy user-friendly access to cash flow. And so, yeah, I'm very, very excited about this. The goal is, it's an aggressive goal. We want to 20x our customer base this year. We have the tools, we have all the resources, all these things. So there shouldn't be, no other obstacle other than a good execution. So the team is aware of that. We're planning on hiring about 50 to 70 people this year. So we should be adding about 50 to 70% in workforce. It was crazy today when I saw the news that Tesla had added 40% in 2021. And I mean, we're talking about totally different numbers there, right? We're talking about now they're 100,000 people. So I was like, wow, they really kind of grew quite immensely. So from around 60 to 70,000 people all the way up to 100,000. So quite impressive. Also maybe here to pitch, if you always wanted to work for a fast growing crypto company, we offer fantastic pay. We offer stock options if you want that. We offer health insurance. We offer a very flexible kind of work plan. Then please go to cakedefi.com/jobs. We do prefer team members in Singapore, but obviously a lot of the roles can also be done remote. So yeah, I think that's kind of a bit of a preview for the rest of the year. Fabio, did I forget anything? Did I miss anything? Anything maybe you want to highlight for the 2021 review, 2022 preview, just from a larger kind of bird's eye perspective?
Hey everybody. No, the summary was quite extensive. I think you touched on the most important points. Maybe to briefly touch on that, like we are monitoring all these things that you guys bring to our attention on Reddit and on Telegram, and lots of these are like super small life hacks and smaller improvements that you guys wish for. We haven't forgot about these things, and we have an extensive summary with all the feature requests and all the things you would love to see on the platform, and we are looking into bringing those to the platform as well. But there is not a specific ETAs for that. We don't want to pressure our tech guys, but expect us to roll out smaller things, smaller life hacks that make the platform easier to use and in general a better user experience. As many of you noticed, we sent out a survey this Monday, so we are really interested in who you are, what you think about the platform, and we will reach out individually to some of you to get even a more detailed picture of what kind of features and products you would love to see us in the future.
Definitely. Yeah. So I really just wanted to give a big picture here. So what to expect over the next 12 months. Again, read that short blog post that the content team summarized from my personal notes. Shout out to them for doing a really good job. Also on the graphics, I think it looks really, really sharp. And then obviously, if you want to have the details, go into the kind of detailed department insight. So just a bit of a big picture here. Also, if you have any questions, I know that some of you tweeted at my personal Twitter account. Please, you have to repost your question here and resend it to @CakeDeFi because I don't have access to my personal account right now. So you need to please send it here to the company account, and then I'm happy to answer them here. Cool. With that, I would say let's transition over. I think main topic on people's minds is, why is Fabio right after not having been right? What happened, Fabio? I mean, Bitcoin is pumping, crypto is pumping, DeFi is pumping. What's going on?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that I'm 100% right. Like I'm a perma bull, of course. 50% of the time, or 33% of the time, I need to be right because it can either go up, down, or sideways. So I guess I have a 33% of being right when I say it will go up. Actually, the thing that I struggle a little bit, and it seems to be a broader struggle that many people are affected. There is lots of disbelief about this rally because it came so suddenly. There was no big news about it, and we just seem to go up. And there is so many people that still think it's a little bit of a disbelief rally. They're not trusting this rally 100%, which actually makes me kind of bullish. Also, if you follow bigger polls of influencers, the people seem to be split very evenly, 50-50. So some of them, they trust the rally and they think we will see higher prices very soon. And others, they say, no, this is just a small bounce and we will eventually head down to, I don't know, the upper 20s or somewhere in this direction. For me personally, yesterday, a good friend of mine, he asked me, hey, Fabio, what do you think about the market? And I said, I'm actually somewhere in between. There's two scenarios. We go up from here, or we may see another dip. But if your time horizon is multiple years and you strongly believe in the fundamentals of the crypto market and that we eventually will go higher, it doesn't really make a difference. If scenario two, if we go up from here, it's nice because we will make nice profits. And if we wait a little bit, even better because we have a longer time to accumulate and to increase our positions. So I'm very relaxed with the current levels in the current markets.
I think that's important to mention because, I mean, first of all, most of our users on the platform are long-term kind of hodlers. I mean, I don't know. Do you know the number at the top of your head? How many people actually froze their funds for 10 years on our platform? I think it's like 30 million DFI or something. We're talking about $100 million. I think maybe I'm totally wrong now with the number. But so we have long-term viewing customers. Now, at the same time, obviously, it's fun to debate those things and discuss those things and share a bit of the thought. So when we talk about those things, first of all, understand none of that is financial advice. None of that, I mean, crypto is highly speculative. As you all know, we can all have the craziest ideas about it. Most of the time afterwards, markets surprise us big time. And so I think if you have a long-term view, as most of us do, or should have, I think we're very bullish long-term. And then I think what Fabio mentions here, obviously over the next days and weeks, this is where we sometimes don't know, but many times actually this is what drives our emotions. So yeah, maybe it's a bit of some emotional support as well here. Yeah, I mean, I wanted to ask, I mean, I think Plan B, he was super bearish on the price actually just 2 weeks ago, and or I can't remember, or Crypto Cho, I think Cho 007 or something. He was also talking about 20,000. A lot of people really had this negative kind of view. What happened there? Did they change their opinion, or are they like as predicted, or what's happening there?
Yeah, maybe two things. The first point you made, I just looked up the numbers. So we have around 100 million US dollars that are frozen for 10 years right now. So this is like crazy. So we have a very big chunk of assets that is completely
thanks for
frozen.
The support, guys. Like really, thanks for the trust and support. We really appreciate that, and we don't take that trust lightly.
And on the second point, I think the guy you mentioned, he has a big Twitter account. I think he's an anonymous whale, Joe 007. And he did have lots of bearish tweets, and I guess I'm not 100% sure. I didn't follow his latest tweets, but there were a few bigger influencers that were very bearish, that were talking about the 200-week moving average. This is around 20,000, and this was until now at least. The 200 weekly moving average was an extreme good level of finding support. We only once, I think, broke it for a very short period of time and then found support on it. So lots of people, bigger influencers, especially the bearish ones, are talking about the 20,000 level. There is still a few others that are looking at the 27,000 level. I had a few funny conversations yesterday and today. I have a few good friends of mine. They are very decent or good traders, and I love to hear their opinion on things. And I mentioned this during the last Twitter Spaces 2 weeks ago as well. There was this one guy that is still waiting for 27-ish levels, and we had a brief exchange today, and he said, "Oh, maybe I missed it." Because we were already at 45K and he was still waiting for 27. And I guess these are the interesting points right now, because all the people that were thinking we might see lower levels, they kind of are coming into a little bit of a pressured zone where they need to make a decision. Are we going higher from here? Do I buy back in, or do I wait for lower prices? And the higher we go, of course, the more difficult this decision will be. Yeah.
what are the speculations on where this pump came from? I mean, let's kind of look a bit. Bitcoin is up about, let's say, 30%, right? I think what was the low? Let's say 33,000, 34,000 in this kind of cycle. It's now 45,000. I didn't check the price just now. I actually came straight out of another call, so I would assume it's around 44, 45. So 33% up. Most alts, correct me if I'm wrong, they dipped lower on the way down, but now they did well on the way up versus Bitcoin. I don't know. Can you give a bit of a brief kind of market overview, just on the performance, basically? Yeah.
So I guess there's 2 points. One is let's say the rumors, the reason for the pump, and just a few things that I saw. Lots of people were making a connection to the Bitcoin conference with Jack Dorsey and Michael Saylor. And around that time, it was also the time that that prices really started to increase. We had several other news like I think Arizona and Tonga looking into Bitcoin legal tender legislation. And we had, I think, a Canadian company adding Bitcoin to its balance sheet. So these things were discussed. About general performance in the market, altcoins were holding up extremely well. Like normally during these price dips that we saw from November till now, altcoins bleed a lot more and they lag when the upside kicks in again. And we couldn't see that at all. So altcoins were holding up quite nicely. This means that the general market sentiment is a little bit more risk on, and that people seem to be still quite bullish and willing to take a little bit of a bigger risk. So I'm not 100% sure. You could make the argument that this is bullish, but you could also make the argument that this is bearish. What do you think about the risk on?
Yeah, I mean, I tweet about this actually quite a lot. I mean, fundamentally, I didn't really understand what changed from a macro perspective, right? And I think there's always two things, right? There's the general macro, and then there's the specific utility or the specific micro. And I think macro-wise, and this would have been one of the factors, would have been a Fed changing the tune. To be honest, I didn't see this at all. I'm actually fairly certain that the Fed is going to really stop the tapering by the end of March, start raising rates. You look at most financial forecasts, they are actually now calculating with 5 rate hikes. They're talking about interest rates maybe up to 2% by the end of the year. So, and I know this doesn't sound much, but you need to always see this in relative terms as well. So if you go, and I always make the same example here, but if you go from interest rates from 0.25 to 0.5, so you would say, hey, this is just an increase of 0.25. That's it. But there's actually an increase of 100% because most companies, most individuals, they calculate their cash flow in absolutes. So let's say you have interest payments and you have interest payments of $1,000, and those $1,000 resemble the 0.25. Now, if suddenly they go from 0.25 to 0.5, your interest payments suddenly double to $2,000, right? So it's really important to understand this mix. So this is actually a significant rate hike if this actually would happen the entire year. And at the moment, this looks, I mean, the Fed kind of said this was going to happen. It looks very likely that's going to happen. So basically, and this is always very general kind of understanding of macroeconomics, this is actually very bearish for crypto. It's very bearish for anything that doesn't generate any cash flow. But, and now comes the but, right? And that's important. First of all, you can doubt that, right? You can say, hey, I don't trust the Fed one bit. They're wrong. Like, they're not going to do one, like, they may hike rates in, I don't know, March, and maybe they're going to do it another time. But then midterms are in November 8th. Then maybe in September, they don't do this. So let's see, right? That's the first thing. And then the second thing, and that's important, are the asset-specific terms. And I had always predicted 2 things that could turn the market around. First one, Bitcoin spot ETF. We saw that the Grayscale one got shut down again. It got delayed, I mean, for future comment. I think most people are expecting no Bitcoin spot ETF actually the entire year. So very unlikely. But that would really turn the market around. And I think only Bitcoin has the chance to turn the market around. I don't think anything specific for Ethereum or for another blockchain. I just don't think it has the substance, and it's large enough. It has enough reputation to really turn the market around. I think it has to be something around Bitcoin. And then the second one would be a large buyer stepping in and really starting to push the markets up. I think you can be spot on with the corporate conference with Jack Dorsey and Saylor. I think this is a very possible candidate. If there's any public news coming out of that, I think the major one is the signaling that comes from that. I think let's say about $1.5 billion of Bitcoin got purchased during that specific time frame when that massive pump happened. There would have to be some really strong signaling following that for it to really kind of start driving the market, similar to what Tesla did last year. Yeah, the other possibility that was something that I kind of floated a bit was that maybe Tether stepped in and just started buying some crypto. Again, many people take this always as a negative, and they always like, oh, this is like there's some shady stuff going on. No, I mean, it can easily be. Tether should be making tons of money from their 70 billion plus crypto, like fiat holdings or whatever holdings. I mean, just calculate with a super tiny percentage. And some of these things are in some probably, I mean, commercial papers and so on. So they should be making maybe, I don't know, 2-3% per year on this. We're talking about $2-3 billion in net profits every year, right? So they may actually step in and say, you know what, let me just buy up some crypto. And for them, this should be very easy to buy up $1 billion or $2 billion. So, I mean, various ideas. Again, I had a lunch today with a good friend here in Singapore, who also knows the markets really, really, really well. And he has some really good insights. Also, he wasn't 100% sure. So this kind of is always a bit of a sign for me when it's really a bit uncertain, because normally he's someone who has always a good sense because he's quite deep in the system. And yeah, so I actually don't, I have, that's that's a bit of the scary part for me, right? Normally I do hear a bit of rumors here and rumors there, and hey, you know, this company has had some really significant orders, and yeah, so and then I kind of have a bit of a feeling on this one. I don't really have anything. This can be positive because this can be some massive news. It can also be a bit of a reason for caution. Yeah, these are a bit of my thoughts on this.
Maybe as a bigger on a bigger news, what kind of baffled me a little bit, what I probably never saw in my time investing into the market was these big players like Spotify, Netflix, PayPal, Facebook losing 30%, even 40% within a very, very short period of time. And it made me, I don't know, a little bit cautious. Like if we see volatility and then in very specific assets, I don't remember a time where we had this kind of volatility, but the general markets are holding up quite okay. So if you look at S&P 500 in general, I guess value stocks like Berkshire or like big pharmaceutical companies or retail companies were holding up quite nicely, while some of these tech companies that I just mentioned were taking big hits. I think Facebook after earnings, and yeah, I don't know. Do you have any insights into this?
I mean, there I have a very different view. I mean, when I look at a lot of like, let's say, friends or acquaintances that are significantly high net worth individuals, $100 million, billions of dollars net worth, most of them, and they have crypto exposure, but generally their crypto exposure is in the lower single digit percentages. So I don't know, let's say a billionaire, they put, I don't know, 5% of their holdings into crypto. We're talking about $50 million. So if their $50 million becomes, let's say, minus 50% since the all-time high, it's $25 million. They don't really feel that. Additionally, they don't really invest like most crypto degens invest, and they don't invest into the kind of typical kind of growth stocks and risk on kind of assets. So most of them actually, they're very well diversified. They have like a lot of energy stocks. They have these very traditional kind of stocks. And so the interesting thing when I talk to them is they have a totally different perception of the market right now. They don't experience this significant setback at all. Their entire portfolios are actually, especially year to date, sometimes they're not even down. They're actually slightly up because stocks like Berkshire, like you mentioned, and all these kind of likes, especially cash-rich companies. You look at Apple, you look at Google, you look at Microsoft, you look at Amazon, all these companies did super, super, super well. So I think there's a very different kind of perception. And then I don't know if you saw the interview that Dalio gave on the, I think, Rubenstein show. I think that's what it's called. I'm not 100% sure. And there he really mentioned, he said, I think we see a bit of a reset when it comes to how much return these massive risk on assets are actually going to make. And a lot of these companies that really sold off, I think really Facebook is the exception here, but I think Facebook or Meta really has some pressure from TikTok. It has some pressure when it comes to this change to Meta. And so I think that's the exception. But you look at most of these other companies, these companies are generally growth companies. They're not companies that are strong, that have strong cash flow right now. And with cash becoming slightly more valuable if you trust the Fed, there is a little bit of a kind of revaluation here into other markets. So I think you really see a bit of a split here, right? And then obviously when I talk to my crypto friends who are like 80, 90% heads over in crypto, obviously all in the same boat. Generally, their portfolios are down year to date. They're significantly down from their all-time highs. Generally, that happened mid-November. And so it's going to be very interesting. And I posted this on Twitter. I think that was 2 months ago. And I posted exactly that on Twitter. I said, yeah, some of my friends, like especially the crypto friends, they're like, man, crypto is going to go 5x next year and we're going to get rich. And then I talked to some of my high net worth friends who hundreds of millions, billions of dollars, and they're the exact opposite. They're like, man, crypto is may go up, right? But it has a good chance that it's going to go a bit sideways or not perform super well. But I don't know, maybe those value shares like a Berkshire or something is going to do super well. So that is a bit of the very interesting polarizing views I see on both kind of angles here.
Yep. Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of undecisiveness when it comes to 2022. Like all of us, we had such high expectations for 2021, that 6 figures in December 2021, and now it's like the reality just hit in January 2022, and everybody seems to be like there's a lot less hopium and a lot less confidence in the market right now. And I guess the same is for general markets. It's and there is so many things that influence it. We still don't know. We'll like connected with the pandemic if we are all going to open up and everything goes back to normal, or if this is a thing that will take a lot more time and like accompany us during the course of the whole year. There is a lot of uncertainty when it comes to 2022. And I couldn't feel this kind of uncertainty a year ago.
I mean, I feel like the possible outcomes that we could see in 2022 over various asset classes, countries, regions, has at least in my kind of investment experience, and I'm not like the super experienced investor. I've been investing for the last 12 years. My very beginning was losing all my money in 2008, and then learned from that. And since then, I've just been very lucky that there was one massive bull run until today, over the last 14 years, basically. But I think in those 14 years, I have never seen a year where I could envision a more diverse possible outcome over the entire year. And I mean, listen to any of the seasoned investors, right? It doesn't even have to be pro crypto. It can be like neutral to crypto. I think Dalio, for example, very neutral to crypto, but you listen to him, I think he has never been like less sure about what the market could be doing. And many of the investors are actually kind of like this. And I would highly recommend, I think anyone is really kind of insane if they don't have a sizable portion in crypto. But I also think you're really insane if you don't have a sizable portion outside of crypto. For the simple reason, because there are just a lot of possible outcomes this year. And it may actually be very helpful to have a sizable portion in crypto. It may also be helpful to have a sizable portion outside of crypto. And these individual risk levels, everyone has to kind of make, depending on their age, depending on their time horizon. I think someone that is relatively certain that he or she doesn't need any liquidity over the next 10 years, I think that person should have a significantly stronger portion in in crypto versus someone who says, hey, look, I may actually need liquidity in the summer. And if crypto doesn't go up by the summer, I need to sell at a loss. And I think such a person should really kind of diversify their funds very differently than someone who may say, hey, look, even if until 2030, crypto doesn't really recover, but then it's going to go to $1 million. I think that person can have a totally different diversification. So yeah, so I would just be a bit wary of that and just kind of, yeah, a bit self-aware. I think that's important. But generally, if I would have to make one statement, I still think we're going to see a green annual candle. That would be my expectation for crypto. The simple reason is generally these midterm markets or midterm years in the US generally need a bit of a bullish sentiment. And generally the reigning party would like that. And so I would think the Fed is gonna, that's just like crystal ball shaking, and I've obviously no clue what's really gonna happen, but this is just a bit of the talk I hear from friends of mine. Yeah, generally the Fed is expected to be a bit more on the cautious and bearish side until the end of the summer. So it's going to be probably a bit of a rougher time for most assets. And then they're going to use maybe 2 months to really kind of drag up the market, become bullish, recover. And then remember, right, it's less about absolute prices for the investor sentiment. Investor sentiment always comes from price changes. And you understand this. I mean, right now, people are euphoric at prices of 44, 45,000, whereas 2 weeks ago, they were really pessimistic. And the reason is simply the direction, the relative prices, that the price changes. That's more important than anything else. So, and then with that comes obviously different price appetite and risk appetite. So, and then I would say, if you ask me about the first half of this year, I would probably be a bit more cautious. I'm way more optimistic about the second half of this year. So let's see. But then again, this can also be a very contrarian thing. And so that's also what I would highly, highly recommend to you to understand. If the majority of the participants expect a certain outcome, it can actually be very, very favorable to take the opposite side because it's completely mispriced, right? And a lot of the contrarian investors kind of approach investing this way. So I think this is actually the most bullish case for the entire first half, where so many crypto investors have been so bearish and are so cautious. And then the opposite side is actually so favorable because so few people bet on it. So it doesn't take much for stuff to shift. So that's just something I would love to kind of highlight on. If you now go and say, oh, let me sell all my crypto because H1 is going to be super bearish. Well, I wouldn't be so quick here because actually there is a very strong contrarian setup. I mean, we've seen it over the last week, right? I mean, if you sold a week ago, 10 days ago, comparison to now, you would have given up a lot of possible profits. So I think that's an important aspect. Sorry, Fabio, I think I cut you off before.
Oh, maybe to add to your first point, I came across a nice quote that if an investor becomes more experienced and more seasoned and gets older a little bit, accumulates his experience, they don't really get wise, but they tend to get cautious in their approach. And I don't remember when I heard or saw the quote. It may be out of a book, The Fourth Turning, but I'm not 100% sure. And for the second part, that maybe the outlook of 2022, I still tend to believe, and I kind of have this hope of this extended lengthening cycle theory, that if you practically go back and you look at all the cycles in 2011 and 13 and 17, the cycles tend to extend 50 weeks from one cycle to the next one. So the last cycle was 150 weeks. So this cycle may very well be 200 weeks long. And this would put the cycle top into October this year. And I kind of still have a little bit of hope, or mostly hope, that this could actually be the case. And as many of you already know, I really like Benjamin Cohen. He talks a lot about this and backs it up with lots of charts and analysis and so on. And he also mentioned this quite a lot, that this could actually be the case, that it takes another year for the cycle to complete. But I guess nobody really knows what 2022 has has to bring to the table.
Do we want to finish with DeFiChain a bit? I think there was a lot of action yesterday. And then we have the voting process. Obviously, this affects Cake DeFi users. I think this would be a good kind of finishing point. Anything that we missed on the general market that you would love to add here? Otherwise, I would love to kind of segue into that last topic.
Yeah, let's segue into DeFiChain. I think we talked extensively about general markets.
Cool. Let me do a quick summary and then let's discuss how the community is affected by all these things. So yesterday, DeFiChain community had a successful hard fork. There were no hiccups. Everything went super smoothly. As far as I was able to see, I think there was significant testing going leading up to that process. And obviously, it was a very sensitive kind of hard fork in a sense where I think the last two hard forks, they all had some hiccups. There were always some like emergency kind of hard forks needed afterwards. And so it was really kind of pleasing to see a super smooth process. There was a lot of community input. The major update in that hard fork was the possibility for DUSD loans to be paid back with DFI at 1% premium. And so that caused a significant amount of the loans being closed with DFI. So there was a significant amount of DFI burned. I think we're sitting at 13 million DFI being burned. So maybe, I don't know, Fabio, if you have the updated number from Daniel's dashboard. So at the moment, we're talking about 4% of the total circulating supply being burned. That's a significant amount. And at the end, that led to a massive price increase of DFI on top of the already bullish crypto market. So all the DeFi hodlers, made some significant gains. And I expect this burn, obviously not at the same speed, but I expect this burn to keep going forward. And the counter effect of that was that now DUSD is very close, not exactly, but it's very close to $1. I think it's going to take a little bit until it really hits $1 and then until it gets quite well arbitraged around that $1. It's probably going to take a few days still until the entire market also settles a bit. And so, sorry, you go.
Maybe for the number you just mentioned, just to put this in comparison, if you start at February 6th, it was 350,000 DFI burned, and now just an hour ago we are at 13.5 million.
Yeah, I mean, this is and this happened over 24 hours, right? A bit more now, but so yeah. My calculation, I had made a calculation how much I think that would get burned. I had a thought error in there. I had calculated 5 to 7 million, but I completely missed the other half of the DUSD that are out there, which are in the other D token pairs. And so I had to correct that and double that number. Quite interesting. Most people actually doubted my number and said, "Oh, this is insane. It's never going to be 5 to 7 million." I was fairly certain it was going to be 5 to 7 million, but in this case, I was too bearish. I had miscalculated it because I missed the other half of the D tokens. So how does this affect you as a Cake DeFi user? It affects you in as far as obviously the DeFi price went up, and with that continuous burn, there's a very strong probability that there's more DeFi gonna get burned, and so there should be less supply. I asked Daniel if he can actually make a dashboard where we can see a bit the comparison if DeFiChain is actually inflationary or deflationary. Ethereum also has this dashboard, and I think that's important. I mentioned this a couple of times. I think the best blockchains going forward are those that can be either. So they can be either inflationary or they can be deflationary, depending on how much they're used or what's happening. And I think that's actually an interesting kind of comparison. So you as a DFI holder, you should see a continuous burn of DFI. And then at the same time, it should be way cheaper for you now and way more price efficient in actually getting into liquidity mining. So especially the DFI DUSD liquidity mining pair, that should be way cheaper to get in, way more efficient. The community is yet to decide how to proceed with the other D tokens. My personal suggestion, obviously that's just a personal suggestion, is we wait for a week or two and see how this works on DUSD. Then we take a vote, and then maybe we take the smallest liquidity pair for the other D tokens. I think at the moment this is URTH, so DURTH, so the MSCI World, and start with this one and see, because it's the smallest one, so there's the biggest room for the biggest margin for error, and approach this one next, and then see how this affects, and then we can go to the larger ones that are way more significant. But and then the goal is obviously to optimize the price for all the D tokens. But first, I would say let's wait a bit, see how the DUSD is going to play out. At the moment, it looks very promising. Yeah, so I think that's an important one. Yeah, is there anything as a summary that you have seen in the community or other topics that we need to add on that before I think we need to talk about the voting process?
Yeah, maybe there was a few users requesting or asking about, hey, how does Cake add new D assets? Are we planning to add another 4 or 5 liquidity pools? This is a question that came up quite a lot. Maybe you can touch briefly on that.
I think there's 4 D tokens that we haven't listed yet. Again, also, I want to make this clear. We may actually not list all of the D tokens in the future. Some of that simply has to do with workload, profit. I mean, some of those D tokens just they're just so small that it's just not worth it for us. The operational work is so high in comparison to the profits that we make. So I just want to make this clear. Again, and also at the end, this kind of clearly distinguishes also. I think there's always a bit of a misunderstanding that Cake DeFi and DeFiChain is the same thing. There's like massive difference, and I think the longer the year progresses, you will see that difference. And some of this difference will actually be that we just may not list all the functions. We may not list all the options, either for profit reasons that it's just not profitable for us, and then it's just either you just skip those or you do it natively yourself, or in the future with certain functions, certain features, it may be a legal reason or compliance reason. So in this case with the D tokens is not the case. At the moment, the team is looking into adding the remaining or a few more of the D tokens. So hopefully by the end of the week, we have added a few more. So just keep an eye on it. If you want to get involved right away, again, I mean, I shouldn't be saying this as the CEO of the platform, but I also want to be as transparent, and I always believe if you see that my interest is to obviously have you as a customer, sure, that's how we make money. But at the same time, for you to understand our incentives and our alignments, I think it's easier for you to align yours. So if you want to have this right away, then you just need to do it natively yourself, just like on all the other blockchains. So yeah, that's a bit of the feedback on this. Cool. With that, Fabio, I think let's transition over to the voting process, or anything else.
I would love to talk a little bit about the voting process. Should I just hop into it and start now, or?
Yep,
okay.
I think that's the best. Yep, because everything else was covered.
There is for everybody that has that controls a full masternode on Cake side. So it's important to understand Cake does not get involved within the voting. So we forward the voting power to our customers. So everybody that controls a full masternode is allowed to vote. Before, like last year, there was lots of manual work involved. So we were reaching out to each customer via email. We guided them through the voting process and provided them with instructions, and sent each customer their signatures, their masternode signatures via email, so they could share them on GitHub. Now we are trying to implement, or this will be the first time that we do this natively on the homepage. So this will be so much easier when this is in place, and I'm going to touch on the ETA of that in a moment. You practically can go to your freezer section on the Cake website. You will see a small drop-down menu where you can select which DFIP or CFIP you want to vote. What your answer will be, you press the drop down, your signature will appear, you copy paste it onto GitHub. That's it. So the process will be a lot more smoother and streamlined. On the ETA, I know the voting already started tonight at 0000 UTC. So we're already about 12 hours in. And we are in the last finishing touches of testing this thing. It's really important that we don't mess this up. So we like to do extensive testing on it. And this is done right now. And probably very likely, if there is nothing happening that concerns us, so if the testing runs smoothly, we will release this feature tomorrow morning. And we will reach out to each and every one of you via email to let you know as soon as the voting feature is live. And with also like a small screenshot or a little bit of a guide on how to use it. It should be pretty straightforward, but just in case, we will guide you through that process. And you can expect this to happen in approximately 24 hours. So this will still give you more than enough time, about five days, to cast your vote. And I think there is lots of interesting things happening right now on the DeFiChain voting. I try to keep up to date, but there's so many community members taking part of this, and there is actually one specific one I have my eye on, and this is a team. They call themselves accelerators, and all they do is marketing. So it's a free guys, professionals, and what they want to focus and double down on is the whole marketing part, which is, of course, not that easy as a community project that is completely open sourced. So yeah, maybe you have some insights there as well, Julian. Which of the CFPs or DFPs are you following along with or are excited about?
Yeah, I always I have this rule. I stay out of mentioning any CFP or going on to any of the DeFi IPs for the simple reason I really don't want to sway or influence anyone. Yeah, so I'll completely stay out of that. I've always done that. Yeah, so I will. Doesn't matter if it's actually one where, yeah, this may even be handed in by, I don't know, someone for security or for whatever reasons. I always stay out just because, yeah, I feel this makes it a bit more neutral, and I think that's important. Yeah, everyone should make their own opinion on those things. So yeah, as soon as I would highlight one or talk about one, this gets influenced. I don't think that's a good one. That's a good idea. So yeah, but no, I'm excited. I think there's a lot of CFPs, a lot of DFIPs. Obviously, the one that I would always kind of highlight is, please don't just blindly reject them. Don't just blindly approve them. Don't see this as, oh, it's not my money. I can just give it to everyone. Also, don't see it, oh, no one is allowed to receive any money. So please be careful with both kind of ideas. I highly doubt that all are approvable. I highly doubt all are rejectable. Some are really good, some are not very good. I think also don't focus on the amount, focus on the value. That's always important. So think about the value something brings, then ask yourself, how much would this be costing? And if the cost is lower than the value, then it's a no-brainer, right? And then even if the ask is very small, but if it's no value, the cost is still too high. So just kind of really approach it this way. Be like conscious about these things. I think at the end, this is really important. Yeah, I think this is the main thing I wanted to add here. I just wanted to add one question that Florian asked on Twitter. I just wanted to add this here, which is, when are we going to be able to buy some Cake DeFi shares? At the moment, no, and there's no plans for it at the moment. Maybe the legal process, we need to finish a PCAOB audit, which would then allow us actually to offer shares to the public. I'm not saying we are. That's just kind of the first step we would have to do anyways. Yeah, so no possibilities at the moment, but thanks so much for asking and thanks so much for the interest. Yeah, what other questions do you see on Telegram or anything that we need to address other than the voting?
Maybe to mention this, we have 48 hours left for our Lunar New Year promotion. So for everybody that has not signed up yet, you will receive a nice bonus. I think for around 48 hours are left for the promotion-ish. It could be a little bit longer or a little bit less. I'm not 100% sure when the exact time of the promotion will finish. But please have a look at the Cake homepage. If you go under Freezer or under referral, you can have a look at the promotion itself. If you know anybody that hasn't signed up to Cake yet, there will be a nice bonus for both your referral and you. Limited time only, 48 hours left. So if you haven't looked at the promotion, it's now or never.
I think that's a good finish. Yeah, now or never. I appreciate all of you. Thanks so much for having been part of this. Thanks so much for supporting us. Yeah, it's going to be an exciting year ahead, 2022, in the Asia kind of calendar, year of the tiger. So yeah, let's make this happen. Yeah, with that, thanks so much, Fabio. Thanks so much for tuning in. Go to cakedefi.com, sign up, get registered, get going, get cash flow in your crypto, and then please subscribe, click the like button, follow us if you want to get updated on these Twitter spaces. We're doing them every Tuesday, 11:30 Europe time, 6:30 here in Singapore. I think 5:30 a.m. East Coast time. So yeah, if you're an early bird, tune in. Cool. All the best in the meantime. Thank you so much. Have a nice rest of a day. Talk next week. All the best. Stay healthy. Bye-bye.